This for those folks who are unable to join us. And this is our first hybrid where we've got people both in Zoom and in the room. So if Sarah Jade looks like her head's swiveling, she's looking at a screen to the one side and the audience to the other side, and we'll be monitoring questions. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Marcy Mowry. I'm the president of the Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation. We're a nonprofit partner for state parks and state forest and serve as an umbrella organization for friends groups across the state. So we're really excited to have this conversation tonight about a friends group at Promised Land State Park. How the evening is going to play out. This would be the first of what we hope is several meetings to launch a group. We'll have a little bit of background information from Tara. We will also have me speak about what is a friends group. We will answer questions, pick your brains about what you think a friends group could do and assess interest. And then there will be follow-up steps. Part of those follow-up steps is a survey. If you're on the Zoom, Pam has put into the chat a link to a Google form where we're trying to capture your name and your email address, so that the second step is a survey so that we can do a survey. If you're in the room, I believe you signed in. If you haven't signed in, please do so. There is a sign up sheet. There we go. It's being modeled right now. Typically we would do introductions, but I'm not quite sure how we would easily do that in this situation. So, you know, if you're on the Zoom, if you want to like put into the chat where you're from, because I think we've got people from all parts of the state, not just local to the park. And we'll figure out a way for the people in the room to also, but we'll capture part of that in the survey. So I'd like to introduce the park manager. You may all know her, Tara Brugger, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the park and why she was open to the idea of having a friends group, what she feels some of the needs are that a friends group could address. So, Tara.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tara Brugger. I think I probably know most of you. I am the park manager of Promised Land State Park. As most of you know, Promised Land State Park, just give a little background of the park. It's about 3,000 acres in size. We have two large lakes here. We have Promised Land Lake and Lower Lake. We also have a day use area. A big draw to the park is not only using the lakes as our campgrounds. We have just over 400 overnight facilities. And the other big thing is our camp lease program. We have 224 camp leases that surround the lake, the most in state parks. So that's a little bit about the park. We were approached last year for the ideas of a friends group. This year, it kind of got more energy about it. I was kind of surprised when I came here. One thing I love about this park is how many volunteers we already have here. We have a huge volunteer base, more than I've ever had at any other park I've been at. And I think people approaching about a friends group just made sense to kind of bring an umbrella over all those volunteer people that already volunteer from the park, new people who want to get involved in the park. You know, we have museum people, we have camp hosts, we have people who do arts and crafts, we have trail people, we have all kinds of people, and just bringing, like I said, some organization to that and seeing more what we can do. Another thing I love about a friends group is I love talking to the visitors of the park and seeing what they feel, things that we could be doing better, or, oh, did I lose you guys? Sorry. Things that we could be doing here. I'm always out and about talking to people, hearing ideas, you know, where it's ADA docks, ADA fishing docks, ramps, different things that we could be doing that I may not see that other people see. And I think having a friends group and trying to bring all these ideas together is only going to benefit the park. The park's here for everybody, and having a lot of people, you know, have their input into what we could be doing better is only going to help. A lot of the things that have brought to our attention with the ADA docs, I know there's a lot of grants and things like that out there, and having a friends group also gives you access for fundraising and be able to get different types of funds of money. So that's another big benefit of having a friends group, as you know, not only working with the ideas that people may have, and things that they may want to see, but also ways that we can, you know, do different type of fundraising to get kind of projects going to be able to fund those types of projects. So I'm really excited about this friends group. Like I said, last year it was mentioned and then it got more energy this year. And I think a lot of the staff here are very excited to see, what we can do going forward, and just, again, organizing all of our volunteers, all the people that are passionate about the park, just like we are, the staff here, is to just try to make everything better. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Great, thank you, Tara. I will say that probably more than a decade ago, we did have a friends group at Promised Land. It was a combined friends group with the Delaware State Forest. And it worked for about 2 or 3 years, but the goals were very different. And, some of the goals were accomplished and the group decided not to continue. So we were excited when there was a nudge to start a group back up, because Promised Land is such a popular park and has its champions, and we have awarded volunteers from Promised Land our annual awards in the past. So we know that there's a strong volunteer base, and that's really the heart of a friends group. It's a strong volunteer base, as well as, bringing people together that represents different stakeholders, so that those stakeholders can have conversations and bring those different perspectives, as Tara mentioned, to a conversation about what the needs are and how those needs can be met. I've asked Pam to bring up the map. That's Pam. Pam Metzger is on the staff of the Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation as well. So I asked her to bring up a map. Well, as I said, we are a statewide nonprofit and one of the things that we do is we serve to as an umbrella organization for a friends group. So there should be 2 more that are added. Well, is Tyler on there, Pam? There it is, Tyler. So we are now up to 45 groups. It varies. We have groups that are with us and then they have a goal and they accomplish it, and then they decide that they are not moving forward. When you look at this, they're spread across the state. No 2 friends groups are the same. So if somebody says to me, what is a friends group? I can say it is a group of dedicated volunteers that are working in conjunction with the park manager or the district forester to advance their shared mission. But how they do that is all very different, because every friends group has different skill sets. Every friends group is working towards their mission with that place. You can see in the western part of the state, we have Davis Public Cabin. That is just a cabin. And they manage that cabin for overnight stays, versus Cherry Springs Dark Sky Fund, which, works to keep that dark sky dark. We go down to Pine Grove, they've placed several bridges. They've done historic interpretation. So every place is a little bit different. So as we're starting this conversation about having a friends group, know that we don't have any preconceived idea in our head as to what it would look like. That is something that we would build with a group of people, with you, what the mission and vision of the friends group would be. The only boundary that we have is it has to be within the management plan that Tara has to follow for her state park. So, okay, Pam. And the other thing I've asked Pam if she could have ready is just to give you an idea of some of the things that friends groups are doing across the state. We just completed our annual report for 2023. And you see a lot of friends groups are doing service projects, maintaining trails, removing invasive species. They host outreach events. They have a lot of volunteer hours, and last year there were over 37,000 volunteer hours that were dedicated by friends groups. And we don't start friends groups to replace Park or Forest staff. We start friends groups to work in cooperation with Park and Forest staff. And then on the other side of this, I don't know if you can hone in, this is just a list of some of the things that PPFF and friends groups were able to accomplish in 2023, which included planting trees, getting kids out, maintaining trails, building blueboard boxes, putting in amphitheaters, putting in camping equipment, benches, trail bridges, etc., doing roadside cleanup. So again, lots of different things that are happening within a friends group. And as Tara said, some of these things require funds, and some of them require volunteer labor, volunteer ideas. Oh, you don't have to show that. Okay. So with a friends group under the PPFF umbrella, what that means is we are the nonprofit organization, which means we're following all the paperwork, we're monitoring all the laws, we're doing all the unfun stuff about being a volunteer organization so that you can do the fun stuff. And so we provide all of that and then work in conjunction with you as a volunteer group. It has the advantage of, you know, it's probably one of the easier volunteer jobs that you'll do, but we do have, every friends group has a board of directors. And that is something that, you know, we will talk about, and that we will need to form if we're looking at having a friends group. And that board of directors is anywhere from 4 to 15 people. And there is a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer that serve as the executive committee, and then members of the board. The friends group functions under our bylaws. So that's something that's already done, but together we would create a work plan for what the friends group would do and create a mission statement for the friends group. I think I'll stop there for a second just to see if there's any questions before I ramble on, because I can go on and on and on talking about friends groups, but I think rather than overload people, I'd like to hear any questions that people have, and then we'll show you some of the resources that we have, and then we'd love to hear from you about ideas that you have or your thoughts on starting a friends group. So if you have a question and you're on the Zoom, just, you know, either unmute yourself and, you know, we'll recognize that, or if you're in the room, you can just raise your hand and Sarah Jade will call on you and relay their message to us.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
Someone asked, how often would the friends group meet?
We don't dictate that. I will say that most of the groups meet at least once a month, particularly when they're getting started. We have quite a few groups that don't meet in December or January unless they're doing a first day hike, in which case that necessitates a meeting. But we don't dictate what that looks like. We have groups that have been up and running for a period of time, and they combine a work day with a meeting. So that's not something, we're not managing in that way. We're not saying, okay, you guys have to meet every month for 2 hours. No, in fact, we would say, hey, try to keep it short, try to keep it to an hour. You can do Zoom meetings. We're allowed to do that. We actually, during COVID, one of the good things that came out of COVID was nonprofit law changed so that you could do electronic meetings and have the voting be, permissible. So, you know, some of our groups during the winter months, particularly, like just knowing where some of you are, you're dispersed. So Zoom meetings are something that happens for a number of our friends groups. That way people don't have to come to that place, particularly when the weather is bad. Do you have another question, Sarah Jade?
Yeah, we had a question about like, where could they meet? And I said, well, we have this conference room that really is underused. So
Yeah, a lot of the groups do meet at you know, when if they're not Zooming, they meet at the park. And sometimes, you know, groups will say, hey, let's meet at a local brew pub and, you know, have a little social part. We try to encourage groups to try to limit their meeting time to like an hour and a half. And then if people have joined things for different reasons, if social is part of it, have the social towards the end of the meeting to be respectful of people's time. One way that we've seen energy just go in a friends group is, 3-hour meetings, 3.5 hour meetings. So we discourage that. We'll put that out there right at the beginning.
To Scott Rowland from Promised Land, I think it's important that we establish specific objectives, like what do we want to do? And why do we exist? I mean, it sounds rather simplistic, but I think that's really important from the get-go with this, to get everybody on board and pull in the same way. And I say that, and I think amongst us, we need to determine what those objectives are.
Yeah, you're right on the line. That's why we want to write up the mission
Right.
statement and get some of those initial goals on the board.
But I
But yeah,
believe, because I've got a fair amount of experience with organizational development and so forth, but the mission statement is something that's a sort of everlasting sort of thing, and that boils down into specific goals that we have that we want to achieve within our park. I'm assuming it's, you know,
I will say that we do have a process for establishing that. We do believe strongly in the mission statement. Not only does it guide what you do. So the question was, you know, the gentleman felt that it's very important to establish a mission and set goals. And yes, we agree with that as well. So we do have a process for doing that. I take it by all the people that are in attendance, there is an enthusiasm for starting a friends group. And what we typically do, Pam showing for the Friends of Chapman, what we'll do is we're capturing your email addresses, is we will send out a survey to everybody. And it's a survey that you could share with other people who maybe couldn't make it tonight. And we're asking such things as, you know, we'll list some projects that maybe come up tonight, or we'll pick Tara's brain on some things that she's already mentioned that a volunteer group could do. We asked you about what are your skill sets? What do you see as being needs? Would you be interested in serving on a position within the Friends group? And list some of the more common positions, the chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, being a board member, being a committee chair, social media. You know, would you want to be the webmaster? And then Pam, you might as well click on a couple of more as an example. We ask again what your skill sets are, because, you know, we've had groups that say, oh, you know, we want to raise, you know, $3 million for projects, and everybody says, I hate fundraising. Well, that's not a very good fit. You know, so we're trying to make sure that the objectives that are in place are a fit for the skill sets that are there, or it could guide us to identify either where training is needed or what other skill sets need to be brought on board. These suggested activities were ones that came up in this initial meeting like this. So these aren't ones that we populated. Like, you know, I heard Tara say that, you know, ADA docks, fishing piers, ideas, raising money. We would delve a little bit deeper. What are those? What are some of those potential projects? And we prioritize it. We ask your idea of what do you feel the mission should be of the organization. And then in our second meeting, we actually do an activity where we delve a little bit deeper and we create that mission statement. And typically by the third meeting, we have a work plan, we have a board of directors, and we're able to launch. And what launch means is a group under the foundation signs a memorandum of understanding with the foundation that basically says that you'll follow our rules. All the funds raised as a friends group come into PPFF that we hold into an account, and then you request payments when you need an invoice to be paid. The MOU states that, you know, you'll try not to get into trouble, but if you get into trouble, you'll work with us to try to get you out of trouble. And it also states that, you know, the MOU and the Articles of Association, that while we advocate, and we are strong advocates for investing in our state parks and state forests, we cannot electioneer. So, you know, you can't invite somebody who's running for office to speak at your friends group meeting. So you agree that you won't do that because that would make us lose our nonprofit status. So the MOU and the Articles of Association basically just are a set of agreements of how we would function together. So.
Are there dues?
That is something that you decide. It's one of the questions on the survey. We have groups that are membership organizations with dues paying members, and we have groups that choose not to do that. Having dues paying members does require somebody to be willing to take on that job of managing the membership. So that is not something we decide. I would say, Pam, what, maybe half of them have it, half of them don't.
The other side of that issue.
Yeah, we're getting some agreements in the room for either side, so.
Yep, and some people started out with it and then decided not to do it, and other people didn't start with it and then implemented it. So it's really, it's a personal decision for the group. We don't dictate that.
Or maybe instead of dues, it could be initial, I don't know, membership.
Like a membership
fee.
sign up kind of thing,
Yeah,
maybe?
like an initiation fee or something, just to call those that are interested from those that aren't. that are just-
Yeah, and that's not something we'll figure out. We will figure out tonight. That's
Yeah, absolutely.
in the operational aspects of the group. I saw, Kate, that you took your microphone off. Did you have a question? Yep, she put it back on. No, she did not have a question. Donna, did you have a question?
No.
We have one room.
Oh, one in the room?
Does PPFF maintain an insurance policy that covers member friends groups?
Did you hear that?
We do provide, the question was, do we provide insurance? We provide general liability insurance. We also provide directors and officers insurance. All members of the Friends group should also be signed up as conservation volunteers within the DCNR system. There are things that you may choose to do where you would have to get a rider on our insurance, and we would help you with that. And then you would be responsible for paying that. The general liability and the directors and officer, we provide that, but it does require that every year you complete an annual report, because we cannot cover your officers if we don't know who they are. So, you know, we have friends groups that haven't completed the report, and if something happens and somebody comes to them and says, hey, you made a decision that adversely impacted me, they're not covered because we don't have any record of who they are. So it's really important to provide that annual report, which is an easy peasy report, and not only helps us cover you, and we have to fill in all that information on the tax forms that we have to fill out so that you're part of the organization. It's also your horn to toot to talk about all the things that you were able to accomplish within the year. So it's a marketing tool for the Friends group. Jean, are you waving your hand? Yeah, question, go ahead.
I should know this, but I completely forget. In working with children, does the conservation volunteer pay for getting clearances to work with kids, or is that something you need to get on your own?
Because you're part of the conservation volunteer program, it should go through DCNR.
Okay.
And
We're-
we understand.
Some people here are saying that it is free.
If you're a volunteer.
If you're a volunteer, so.
Yeah, and we understand that hopefully by the beginning of the year, there will be a new system for the conservation volunteers that's much easier to use, because if you've
Yeah.
ever tried to navigate that system, it's not the most friendly.
And for everyone online and in the room, they did announce today that they're gonna be updating the database, the website, to be easier and hopefully faster.
Very nice.
Conservation volunteer website, it moves very slow. Like,
Makes tortoises look
I think it's
fast.
probably
Yeah.
is fast.
So, Pam, do you have something that you'd like to share? I know we have another webpage to share, but is there anything you would like to share?
Just the fact that we also have some technology resources for you so that people can make online donations to your group, and whoever is designated as your treasurer, your chair, they'll get a special link to be able to access who those people are so you can continue to communicate with them. I will do a small disclaimer to that, in that the system that we've been using for the past 12, 13 years is about to be replaced at the beginning of the new year. So I can't tell you right now how that's going to look, but it will still be able to happen. And it's a very good thing for you guys to be able to acknowledge your own donations and keep in touch with your own people who are supporting you. So we always, there's 5 of us on staff, 6 of us on staff, and we each have our own individual little role. And, but anytime you need anything from anybody, you just contact one of us, and we share out to who's really the responsible person. But think of me for technology.
Yeah, and Pam, maybe you can, I'll chat for a second to fill some space, but you could bring up one of the Friends Group's pages so that I say, Sarah, we'll just bring up this page first so people can see it. So we do have some tools, and we'll show you some more of those then. Because, part of what we've been doing, I've been with the foundation for 20 years, is developing tools based upon questions that Friends Groups provide to us. So if a Friends Group is doing firewood sales as a way to raise money, we've got a fact sheet on that. And that's a big sale item. That's a big money maker for a lot of Friends Groups. If there isn't a concessionaire at the park doing it, or in some cases, they're doing it on the shoulder season when the concessionaire isn't there. So here's Friends of Pine Grove Furnace.
And hopefully this will follow me when I click the pay membership or donate. It goes over to our website, and the neon is our system. And then there's their own individual page with their own they happen to be one of the groups that does have a membership program. So you can pay a membership, you can make a donation, and this captures all your information.
So this got rolling in Promised Land, our organization here would fall under you, and by default, then we would be, was it a 501c3?
Correct. He's asking if they're, because they fall under PPFF, if the group here would be a 501c3.
You would be able to function as a 501c3. We are the official 501c3, but because you would sign an article of association, you function as a 501c3. So, we do have some guidelines in place. Tara talked about grants. Well, we have a grant process. You can't just apply for a grant. We have to be aware, because that is similar to me saying, hey, can you give me your social security number? I'm going to apply for a credit card. Don't worry, I'll pay it off every month. A grant is a legal document. And so we need to know where our number is going and what we are legally committed to doing, because we need to make sure that that is happening. But yeah, it does allow you to raise funds. We'll provide information as it relates to that.
Well, that's kind of where I was headed, because I have a fair amount of experience with our municipality down in southern Pennsylvania, but grants and donations, if you will, because a lot of grants require matching funds, at least in my experience, they do. So that would all fall under your/our 501c3.
Did you guys hear that? So asking about any kind of grants with matching funds, if that would fall under, like, with your 501c3, or like sometimes grants require a match or something.
Right, and we would not provide the match. The Friends would have to raise a match if so the grant process would be, you would have to alert us that, hey, we're thinking about applying for X, Y, and Z grant. And typically in the first year, we don't allow Friends Groups to do that, because we need to know that you're following our financial protocols before we say, oh yeah, go ahead, commit us to stuff.
A test.
It's a test. And then you submit this form, we review it. And I'll tell you why, in addition to just managing our number, is that we had a group that applied for a grant. We, didn't have this process in place, and it was a reimbursement grant. So all of a sudden they had a $300,000 grant and they didn't have any money to operate. And they're like, hey, can you loan us the money? And we're like, no, because if you don't do it exactly right, you know,
Yes,
you've wiped out our operating budget.
it's very,
So,
it's very constricted. I don't know what the right term is, but the whole grant process is.
Regimen.
Yeah, yes,
Regimented
the
is a
grant,
nice term, yes.
the grant process is very regimented.
So, okay.
Yeah.
But we would follow that. Thank you very much.
yep. So, you know, grants are just one tool in a fundraising bucket. There are a lot of other tools. The best way to get money is actually to ask people. And that's been very successful in a lot of groups. Grants can be very fickle.
Just like that link on the Friends of Pine Grove Furnace website. You can install the link that I give you to that page on a Facebook page, on a website. I don't know if you can do it on Instagram. I'm not sure because I don't use Instagram, but.
Could you make that
Facebook-
into a QR code for like a poster?
Absolutely. And a
Absolutely.
good example right now is Friends of Greenwood Furnace is raising money for a playground and they have the QR code around the area where the playground would be. Friends of Little Buffalo used a QR code to raise money to restore a train car. In some cases, we work in cooperation, like at Little Buffalo, we work together we did the primary fundraising lift for a totally inclusive playground with a poured rubber surface, and they helped to supply some of the funding. So, you know, there's different ways that we approach projects, but you know, that would be one of the sessions that we would talk about. What are successful fundraising mechanisms? And we do have an annual Friends Retreat that will actually be coming up on November 2nd, where we bring friends groups together and they can chat. We have regular trainings for friends groups, not just officers and Zoom things, but you know, for people that are doing trail maintenance, we're doing a trail summit with the Keystone Trails Association. And we try to move our trainings around. If you're doing trail work and you need to be certified as a Sawyer, because we've got a pretty strict, it's the most dangerous job you'll have as a volunteer. We have a pretty strict policy on the training that you have to have. We need to know that you are capable of handling the chainsaw. And so we have that, and we pay for most of that. We usually ask the friends group to chip a little in, so that they have some skin in the game as well. But yeah, we try to support the groups as much as we can. And we have a new staff person whose job is volunteer coordination, and she'll be working very directly with the friends group, not only helping with coordinating trainings, but you know, she just worked with some friends groups and went out to local colleges and brought the friends groups with her to make connections with, you know, college age potential volunteers and enthusiasm. So we know that how people volunteers continues to change, and we try to be adaptive to that as well.
Maybe I missed this and you presented before, and I apologize a little bit, but your organization, what's the hierarchy look like underneath your organization? Is it just friends organizations? Is that how they work? And then if that's the case, how many over there and so forth?
He's asking about the hierarchy and what that looks like at PPF level, and then downward.
Hierarchy, we have a board of directors. I answer to a board of directors, which is representative across the state. There are 5 staff people, 4 full-time, and there's 6 staff people now. There's 4 full-time and 2 part-time, and then we typically have interns. And then there are friends groups that are functioning across Pennsylvania. But friends groups isn't the only thing that we as a foundation do. We also advocate on behalf of state parks and state forests. We raise money for projects in parks and forests. We have a needs list that we maintain, and we pair that needs list with potential funders. We do some education and outreach, and we have our own volunteer days as well. We do a lot of corporate volunteerism, bringing corporations in, like we're working with Gore right now, to Gore-Tex, on a volunteer day, and New Trail Brewing, we work with them a lot. So when it comes to a hierarchy from meaning is the base of that question, do we micromanage friends groups? We have guidelines that friends groups have to function in. Those guidelines are in place because of legal requirements. And a good example was we were having a conversation with the group today. And, you know, if you're hosting a fall event where you're having vendors, well, we maintain the vendor agreement with the state, but as a friends group, you have to collect the tax ID number from all the people that are going to be at it. That's a requirement of the state. So we manage all of that, but that's where our micromanaging comes in. We're pretty like, hey, you got to make sure that you're not impacting us in an adverse way, because if you impact us and we disappear, 44 other friends groups would disappear. So Pam's pulled up the resources page. We have a chapter handbook, fundraising forms, guidelines for board meetings, the information as it relates to making a deposit, requesting money. And we do have a $2 per transaction when you make a deposit or when we write a check. That helps to cover like the cost of the stamp, which is almost $1 now. We do the audit. Our audit now, because we're so complex with all the friends groups, is upwards of $27,000. So even the most active friends group is probably only paying about $150 a year, but they're getting directors and officers insurance. Well, I'll put it this way. We had a friends group that became independent and has come back to us and said, hey, it's costing us $15,000 a year to be a group. We would really like to come back under the umbrella of PPFF.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for those of you like Parks people, we know PPFF. They for as long as I've been with Parks, they've been around. They're kind of tried, tested, and true. They're not like, this isn't like a new organization coming in. They got, you know, loads of resources. This is what they do, is get the friends groups together and help the friends group and support the parks and the
It
forests.
seems to have a lot of resource and even more experience, and that's.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That's what's so important, is how you navigate all of the
Yeah,
stuff that you run into.
they've seen lots of friends groups, you know, rise and fall. They have all sorts of tools to make sure that you guys are maintained and well supplied, and like now
You don't
like,
rise too fast and then.
yeah, so like that no one's overwhelming. This is what they do. So
Okay.
I've been with the foundation for 20 years. Pam's been with us for what, 15 or 16? The foundation's been in place for 25 years. My career has actually been in nonprofit management. So this is what I eat, sleep, dream about. I would like to, it's, you know, being that we're in two different locations, Pam's kind of showing you some of the things. I would love if you're on the Zoom, if you have ideas of potential friends groups projects or you see needs, I would encourage you to put them into the chat so we can capture those. And maybe Sarah, you can mute yourself. If you have a whiteboard or something that maybe you for 5 or 10 minutes there, you could just generate some ideas of potential project or ideas. Do you have something there you could write on?
I have that board outside. I could also cover your face with a
Yeah.
Word document.
You can write, or you can maybe mute yourself and type, as people are saying stuff, type it into the chat and we can pull it off. Because this is what the survey will be based on. So don't be shy, you know, type in if there's something you think that it would be good for friends groups to do or a need that you have. Maybe you're a bird watcher and you'd love to see more bluebird boxes. Maybe you'd like to see educational packs. And Tara, I would encourage you to do this as well, putting in there some of the things that you think a friends group would do. Because this is part of the meat of the survey that we'll do. Is, you know, we will rank them, you know, how do people feel about these various things? And think both in terms of what are some short-term things that you could do that don't cost a lot of money versus long-term things down the road. Patty, you were raising your hand. You had a question.
I'm just wondering about, like you mentioned about the management plan that Tara has to follow. How do things that a friends group want to do, like does she have to check with the state first before a friends group's allowed to do something?
Tara is an ex officio member of the board of directors. We encourage the park staff be at the meetings. If it is not in alignment with the management plan, it generally doesn't happen. So that's, you know, and you will see that, and we will emphasize it again and again, Tara has the final say in everything. If it's not right for the park, if it's not right for the timing in the park, she can defer it. If it doesn't fit within the management plan, you know, it's probably not going to happen. In some cases, there might be some ideas that, you know, we didn't know about 3 years ago when the management plan was written. Then, you know, it might be something that she puts on her agenda to have a conversation for when that management plan comes up again for review, that it might be something for consideration. But we definitely work within the management plans. We don't work against the park. You know, we truly are friends groups. We don't form to try to move the park in a way that we feel they need to move. We're there to work with the park. Seeing lots of things popping in there, so we'll give it a few more minutes. So continue to update the CCC Museum. A large part of the museum was funded through partnership with PPFF. We got donations for the museum, which funded the rehab of it. So we are already really involved in Promised Land. We've got some donors that are regular donors to the park. That gives Tara money for some projects that might not otherwise happen due to limitations in state budgets. So we're gonna give Sarah another minute or two to collect things there in the room. Sarah's gonna have whiplash by the end of the night. If you watch, her head keeps like switching back and forth. And then I think, Pam, we have a space for where you can add some things in the survey as well. Oh, bait vending machines. That's a great fundraiser for friends groups. Yeah, money. Money, money, money. I like the out of the box thinking.
The girl at the Pine Cone did put in a bait vending machine, so she has one up there, but
So I saw Pam answer Dan. Dan asked, our PPFF staff. Yes, we are staff. We have 4 staff members that are full-time, 2 who are part-time. We have interns, we have our volunteers, and we have 15 board members who are all volunteer board members. And then we have committees, and we've got volunteers on those committees. So we have a lot of volunteers. I think last year we had about 6,000 or 7,000 volunteer hours ourselves. And we are volunteers. I am a campground host. My husband is retired from the Bureau of Forestry, like Jean's husband is, and Jean herself. And he campground hosts most of the time. I go out on the weekends. I'm a trail maintainer. I'm an island maintainer. Pam works as a trail crew on the Laurel Highlands hiking trail. So we don't just do this for our paid work. We do this, you know, because it's our passion, and we're out there volunteering.
Just a reminder, if you haven't filled out the contact form and you're on the Zoom, to make sure you give us your email address. So we can include you on the survey that is going to be generated from all this great work you're doing.
So I'm thinking, based on all of the things that are coming in to the chat box there, that there is a feeling that we should move forward with starting a friends group. If this is true, raise your hand or clap or show some motion if I can see you. Okay, awesome. And then how's the feeling in the room there, Sarah Jade? Is it looking like do you have are people in the room interested in
Yeah,
moving
I think
forward?
we have a unanimous vote for yes.
Okay, awesome. So let me walk you through a little bit of what we'll do next. Make sure you've signed in if you're there in person. Make sure you grab a cookie and put it in the mail to me because I didn't get one. And then if you're online, make sure that you complete the survey form, or you can also scan the QR code and complete the survey form. What we will do is we will send a survey to everybody on this that's signed in, and perhaps you know somebody that couldn't make it, there's a way for you to share that with us, and we'll make sure they get a survey, or you can share the survey with them. And the survey will, again, take a pulse on how you would like to be involved, take a pulse on some of the ideas that were suggested, and then also ask you as an individual to kind of like, what do you think the mission should be? When we will set up a second meeting date, and we will work through developing a mission statement. It's a fun activity, and we're able to do it usually within an hour. And we'll walk through what the survey results are, and then we'll have an idea of what roles people are looking to play. And then typically by the third meeting, we're able to sign the paperwork that would allow you to be a friends group. So that's the steps. The timeline would be, we would probably give ourselves 4 to 5 weeks for the survey to go out, to give people time to respond to it, for us to assimilate it. In the meantime, we'll work with Tara and Sarah Jade to set up another meeting time. Do people like the hybrid format? Do you want to try to all get together in person for round 2? We went back and forth when we did this initially, do it on an evening, do it on the weekend, how to approach it. And maybe we'll make that a question too, Pam, on the survey to help us assess that as the best way to do it. And I don't know how many people are in the room, but this is very impressive and shows a real love and passion for Promised Land State Park. And it is a great park. And then after that third meeting, you're launched, and we say later, no, just kidding. Then we'll do an orientation for your officers, and that's, so I said, there are cookies. And then at the beginning of the year, we typically do some new online trainings with all the different officers, so you can meet other chairs, other vice chairs, other secretaries, other board members. But November 2nd is our Friends Group retreat. So we'll also get you information for that if you're interested. It's going to be at RB Winter State Park. It would be an opportunity to meet other Friends Groups that are currently functioning, and give you an opportunity to learn what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel. So if you have an idea, maybe somebody's already doing it, and you can see what they learned through their process. So. Tara, is there anything you would like to add? I don't know where she is. There she is. I see her.
We got a question? We have a question.
So I have participated in the past in PPFF competitions for photograph.
Oh.
How does that affect being a member of a friends group to be eligible to do that?
Is
Doesn't
being
affect you at all.
Yeah, you could be in the friends group and still be in the photo contest.
Yeah,
All right.
you can't be an employee of PPFF and be in the photo contest. One of our employees had been a previous winner, and we didn't know until we're like, wait a minute, we recognize this name. But no, she can't enter the contest anymore, so she's entering other ones. Yep.
So pictures that you take.
So that's a good
Oh, we
question.
need some updated postcards.
And thank you for entering the photo contest. There is still a couple of days left if other folks want to enter. So yeah, but that doesn't impact. Okay, so Tara, was there anything else that you would like to say?
I don't think so. I'm really excited. Everybody came out. I think it was a great turnout and I think it's a great start. And like I said, we're really excited just bouncing ideas off it with my staff about having a friends group and how much more we can try to get done. And I think it'll be really good.
Excellent. Well, great. Well, I'm very excited. There's 20 people in the room and 20 people here. So that's a really good turnout. So thank
I've got
you.
15 responses on the form online, so
Important.
if you haven't filled out that contact form, make sure you do, or send us an email. Sarah Jade and Tara can hook you up with our email address, so we make sure we get the survey to you.
Yes. Awesome.
People
Well, we
saying
will-
thank you on this end, so.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody. We like to keep our meetings to under an hour to respect your time and your evening. So thank you very much. I look forward to having the next meeting and meeting you all in person eventually. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all this stuff. It's very important.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.